I'm here with another video, and in today's video I'm gonna show you guys how to change the USB charge port for your tablet. This is for Hyundai tablet. This can apply to most of the tablet. It doesn't have to be necessary for Hyundai. This process is gonna show you guys how to remove the USB charge port and replace it with a new one. You can buy lots of depending the models, you can get some standard ones and some different 5-pin, 4-pins, different shapes that they have. But you can get some of them that are standard ones. This one is a standard one. It's the same contact, it's not inverted. So let's get into it and let me show you guys how to open it up. First thing first, you need an opening tool or a screwdriver. I use the UFIXTEK tool set, and this one they have all the bits that you need. From this set we're going to be using Phillips 000. Also you need an opening tool. For the opening tool I'm going to use a guitar pick. This guitar pick is a metallic one, and also you need a soldering station and heat gun station. You will need flux and tweezers, desoldering wire or desoldering wick, and somewhere to hold the board from the electronic board. I use this old clippers that I have here. Old toothbrush, scissors, and the most important one is the working towel. You need a few sheets of this working towel. You can find the links in my description. And also, if you guys, I only see a few of my viewers only subscribe. If you guys could subscribe and give that thumbs up button if this video helps you or any other of my video, I'll really appreciate it. Alright, once we have all this ready, and also you will need a solder. Now, to get it started, first thing for the tablets, you want to remove the cover. So what you do, you look for the screws. There is no screws on this one visible or anything like that, but I see a separation here on this top part. So that means there's a place to put your finger here. So I'm guessing removing this gives you access for the memory, external memories, and some SIM chip right here. And I don't see any more screws. So that means this cover has to come out by opening tool. So I will see the place that this cover comes is right over here. So I'll stick the opening tool right in between the top and the bottom cover, and I'm just gonna wiggle it around just like this, and the separation is just immediately showing. So I'm just gonna go all around. I stick the guitar pick about 2 millimeters, not more. So I just go all around, go to the bottom side, go to the corners. Once you got the bottom and the sides, you can just go ahead and lift it up, wiggle it around, and the top cover should come out pretty easy. Alright, and now down here you can see the big battery and really tiny motherboard right there. First thing first, we need to disconnect the battery cable. So remove this plastic right here, this tape, and we're gonna see the positive and negative cables right here. The positive is the red one, and the negative is the ground, which it says ground, GND. And this was a voltage battery voltage. All right, let's go ahead and turn on the soldering station. This one is a TS100 electric ones. These are really handy to have around. For the hot station, I'm using a 868D. It's an SMD rework station. So while this one is heating up, let's go ahead and remove all the tapes around it. So that tape, this tape right here, just peel off this tape right here, or just leave it on top. Remove the Wi-Fi cable right here, antenna, just by pulling it outward. Removing this other tape. Removing that one over there. All right, now this one is heated up. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna heat up the joint. And let me see, 360. And then we can remove it. Make sure these two cables don't touch. So in order to isolate the cables, just put some kind of tape over. Just cut a little bit of tape and just isolate the red one for now, so you can work freely over here. Remove the other Wi-Fi cable right here. Unhook this volume rocker. Lift up this jack right here. Lift it up and pull out the cable. You have to pull it backward. It should come out pretty easy. Remove the screen cable. Lift up again. It's the same thing. You have to lift up this lock. The digitizer, the touch. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna remove two screws. One right between the two SIM chips. Is a really tiny one. And the one right by the audio jack. Alright, now we should be able to pull out this whole thing out. So there we go. We don't need to remove the speaker cables. It's not necessary. But we do need to remove this tape right here that holds the remove the lock over here, so we can pull out the cameras. Alright. Now the one that we're gonna change is this one right here. So in order to start, we don't want to damage this, overheat these other components around. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna grab a aluminum tape, foil tape, and we're gonna cut fairly nice amount. I'm gonna cut through half. And what we're gonna do here, we're gonna isolate the area that we're gonna work. So I'm gonna isolate all of this, just like that. Bring it over and go over here. Now we're gonna isolate it from this side so the heat doesn't go through the PCB that much. So I'm gonna cut it in half. Isolate it from here and isolate it this way. So there we go. Once we isolate these ones here, what we need to do, we need to grab a flux. We're gonna add on the bottom joints on the clips right here. Alright. We're gonna add a flux on the sides of the jack. Little flux on the other side, and right over the pins. There we go. In order to remove these ones here, we need to mix it with a new solder a little bit. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab a little solder at the point of the solder iron. I'm gonna mix it on the corners and put it on every corner. So there's a leaded solder, so I'm mixing it with a lead-free solder, so that will make it easy when I pass the heat over to melt down, so we can remove it easily. What the flux does, it brings the melting temperature for the solder down, so you can melt the solder before the melting down or damaging any components. Right? I'm going to add a little bit of solder at the back joints to make sure that it's mixed up nicely. There we go. All right, remove this paper here. Now that we have it in this position, what we're going to do, we're going to place it over this one here. Let me see the way that you guys can see it too. Let's get it hooked there. And there we have. Well, you can rip this tape a little bit so you can have more room to work around. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to put a little bit of working towel underneath so I don't want to drop it over the battery. Now we're going to set the hot station at 380. Put a small nozzle on this one right here so I can work on a smaller area. So you're gonna grab your tweezer on one hand and you're gonna start heating up. And as soon as you see the solder melting, that's when you wanna lift up the jack. And I'm looking at it. It's almost melting. We removed it very easy. Alright, now that we removed this solder right here, the old one, what are we gonna do? We're gonna clean up on the right here. We're gonna work on it and clean up the pad. We need to clean up all these pads and see if the pads are okay, they are not damaged or anything. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add our flux a little bit right on the joints. And we're gonna use a solder iron and we're gonna pass over. And we should be able to see all the 4 joints right here. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna grab the wiring wig. We're gonna start removing the old joints. Pretty much you hold it there for a few seconds. Let it absorb everything. The pads are a little bit damaged, but it's okay. The PCB is really bent, so there's a crack on the PCB on this end. So there's not much we can do in there. So as long as the pads are still fine, and I'm looking at the pads are perfectly fine. So let's see what we can do here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna grab an alcohol and we're gonna clean up this area a little bit so we can see the joints. So the fracture is right over here. There's a fracture right on this end. So this side is kind of loose. I should actually be able to lift up this end a little bit. So yeah, this end is loose. So what we need to do, we need to find this part is not working, so get the new one. We're gonna sit down the new one over and make sure that it sits nicely. So and we see that it's okay. It doesn't matter if these legs don't go through, as long as they hold from this side, then we are fine. So we need to place it in a position that we can see it nicely. Right there. Because this PCB is broken, is curved down to the other side, so I need to hold it on this position and just solder the legs a little bit. But before doing that, I'm just gonna put a little bit of flux on the legs right here. A little flux right over here on the joints. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of the solder right at the legs, a little bit, pre-solder them a little bit. Once you pre-solder these ones in, align it on top. Make sure it's nicely aligned. And you need to solder only one leg for now. Right, I just soldered some of the back pins. Now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna put a little joints on the side so you can hold it. Alright. One little bit on the other side. And the front. There's not much room for it to grab, so I'm just trying to feed as much as I can. There we go. All right, now it's in place. So what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna spray some alcohol with a toothbrush, and we're just gonna rub it off to clean up the area, so we can examine to see if the pins, everything is connected nicely. I'm looking down on the pins. All the pins, they look just fine. They look all connected. Everything is soldered, all 5 of them. And we got hooked up on the corners, so everything is plugged in and it should be fine. All right, we're gonna remove the clippers. All right, let's clean up here. Turn off your solder station and let's work on this. Pretty much we are done. We're just working backward and we're gonna set it up. Actually turn it back on because we still have to solder the battery. So bring it over, place it in there. I actually doing videos for me is kind of hard right now. So remove the tape, the aluminum tape that you put on. It's a kind of must. Grab the camera, lift up the hook, push it down, bring it over, make sure it's nicely in place. Alright, now we can bring it over and plug it in there. First thing first, we need to put the 2 tiny screws to hold the motherboard in place. Now let's go ahead and plug in the Wi-Fi antenna right here. You just bring it over and push it down with one finger. And grab the volume rocker first from here and slide it right in its place. They usually should go in really easy. There we go. Make sure it's nice in place, tucked in. Put in the LCD cable inside, close the lid, touch the screen, lift up the lock, put it right underneath. Make sure it's all the way in, and then hold it and push and close. The other Wi-Fi antenna, put it in place. You just have to eyeball it right on top and then press it down. Alright, put this one here. Grab the tape for the speakers. Alright, pretty much we're done. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna solder the negative, the ground. So grab it. Solder the ground right there. And the positive terminal to the positive. Alright, now we can go ahead and turn off the soldering station. And arrange the cables, make sure the cables are not in any way. And you don't need to put these tapes over, but the tapes are there to prevent the locks to open. So if you want, go ahead and do it. Okay. And that's it. Now we're gonna run a test and see if it's charging up or is not. So grab your charger. Plug it in. And there we go. Now it start charging again. It's a low charge. And that's it. I hope you guys like this video. I helped you guys out a little bit to understand how you're supposed to change the power jack. It doesn't have necessary to be the same thing, as long as is the same shape and it fits nicely in place. You can replace them. All right, and the last thing would be to grab the top cover or the bottom cover or the back cover, whatever you want to call this one. Bring it over, set it right there and push down. Make sure you hear those clicks and all around, nothing in the middle. And if you see any gap opening, just pinch it. It should go in place nicely. And the last thing would be to put the bottom cover. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.